impacts of computing and intro to programming. Lesson 1.3, intellectual property. So this is assuming, okay, so let's say there's stuff on the internet and you want to use it for your class or you want to use it for commercial use or something. We need to make sure we're allowed to use things, that we're not plagiarizing, essentially. So intellectual property is any creation used in commerce. So symbols, images, art, literary works, inventions, designs, all of those. Basically, if somebody's created something, there's this intellectual property aspect. Some of your common ones are your patents. Okay, so patents are used for inventions. Okay, so it's an exclusive right granted for an invention. Copyright. A copyright, this basically describes the rights a creator has over their own work. And then trademarks, a lot of times trademarks are typically like logos or images. It is a sign that basically when people see this, they're like, oh, hey, this belongs to this business. So like I said, it's usually a logo or an image. When you download software, you typically have to agree to a license. You have a license agreement. So it's kind of like you have your terms of use, your license agreement. The license agreement limits how you are able to use that program. You can have a single user license. That means only one person or one computer is allowed to install and use that software. There are also multiple user licenses. So if you own like a company, or if you want everybody in your family to be able to use the software, you would want to get like a multiple user license. So you could typically install this on multiple computers or have multiple people logged into the software. When you do this, you want to consider the price per user. And if you have a large organization, you may want to buy something called a site license instead of just a multiple user license. It just kind of depends on how many people you're buying this for. And then there's a concurrent use license. So this would allow the software to be run at the same time on multiple computers. So again, which one of these best fits? It just depends on the situation. Your end user license agreement. This is something that you typically have to sign or say, yes, I've read. This confirms that you have read all of the terms and conditions listed in that license agreement. So it's essentially a contract. Okay, when you confirm that you've read this, you have agreed to this contract. And it's going to lay out all the limitations of the usage of that software and any terms of warranty. Now, breaking any of these contracts or breaching copyright is called software piracy. So software piracy is when you use, copy, or sell software illegally. Okay. And it doesn't have to be like a commercial use for it. Just any like if you there are movies. If you have a movie being displayed to 100 people at a college event, you might be breaching copyright contract. So that's stuff that you need to make sure you're okay with using. Right now, some of the things that if you don't want to have to worry about purchasing software and you want to be able to use things that are more free or out there for the public use, Creative Commons. Creative Commons is a copyright for creative works where the work is available to the public as long as you contribute the creator. Okay, so like you just have to say who created it, that attribution has to be given, but you're allowed to use it. So those are really nice for education and stuff. So if you could find things in Creative Commons, those are very beneficial to you because you are allowed to use those. Now, as for software, we have shareware and freeware. So shareware is not technically free because what you're doing is you're getting software that either has a free trial period or has a limited application use before full purchase. Okay, so you're not really getting the whole entire software for free. Freeware, on the other hand, freeware is software that you can download and use for free with no breach of copyright. Now, there's also something called open source software. Open source software is software that can actually be freely redistributed. So not only can you use it, but you can make changes to it and redistribute it. In fact, the video I am currently recording on, I use OBS, and it is an open source video software that I use. So I actually use a lot of open source software when I create things. Creative Commons, let's kind of go in a little more detail with Creative Commons. So again, it's public use, but you have to always attribute the creator. Some Creative Commons have more on top of it. So when you look at Creative Commons, these are your symbols. Down here at the bottom, see we have this public domain here. This means there's no creator that needs to be attributed. Actually, it's completely in the public domain. It might have been out there for so long that we don't know the creator anymore, or it's just the creator didn't care about it. So public domain is like free for all. Then the next one would be, so then you have this one. This is your standard one. Here you have Creative Commons, and then attribution must be given to the creator. So that's what this symbol means. The SA means if you make any adaptations or changes, you must share it under the same terms. Now, if you see the little money symbol with the line through it, that means that you are allowed to use this except for commercial use. In other words, you cannot make money off of this work. ND, the equal to signs, ND means you are not allowed to change the work at all. All right, so these are just some symbols that you may see, and it's just kind of important to note what each of these symbols mean, because you want to make sure you're not, again, breaching that copyright. Okay, so even though it's Creative Commons, there may be certain aspects of it, like you may, if you're looking for commercial use, if you're trying to sell something, then don't use the one with the money symbol with the line cut off. Okay, all the the other ones are fine. So just be careful of what you're using. And then again, I kind of mentioned open source. Open source is, again, its source code is available to programmers. So what it is it's because it's out there in the public and the source code changes. A lot of times open source software is pretty strong, but there's usually a learning curve. It ends up having a lot of features because people are able to add things in there and, redistribute it and stuff. It's not officially in the public domain. It is still protected by a copyright, but you can legally change that code. So some examples of it are Linux. Linux is an open source operating system. GIMP, this is, so like I don't pay for Adobe Photoshop, I use GIMP. It is an image manipulation open source tool. If you want to do 3D animations, Blender is an open source app. And then if you don't have, nowadays, I think, with Google Suite's free. Microsoft is not. As far as I know, Microsoft you still have to pay for. But Google, if you set up a Google Gmail account, you can use their, Google Word and, Google Docs, Google Sheets, Google Slides. Like, you can use all that for free. But before Google, LibreOffice was one that students that could not purchase Microsoft, LibreOffice was an alternative for that. It was an open source alternative.